Before now, Adebayo's life had been different, a simpler, harsher time. The shack where he had grown up leaked every time it rained, and the meals they had were few and far between. His mother's strength, quiet but unyielding, was the only thing that held their world together. The absence of his father had created a hole in his heart, one he filled with ambition. He remembered the torn fabric of his school bag, the burden of hunger gnawing at his stomach. But even in the darkest times, there was Mama Abike, a neighbor who had seen potential in him. "Adebayo, stand tall," she would say, "the weight of the world is no excuse to crumble." Her wisdom stayed with him, though now, with the choices he had made, it felt like a distant echo. He had risen from that struggle, but the question was, at what cost? Before dawn broke over Lagos, Adebayo was already awake. The heavy air, thick with humidity, hung around him as the city began to stir. The distant rumblings of traffic and the calls of street vendors barely pierced the quiet of his apartment. The sun hadn't yet broken the horizon, but the city's pulse was already in motion. Adebayo's heart raced, his palms slick with sweat. The scent of the city outside, diesel, dust, wet pavement, mixed with the faint smell of Tolu's perfume. He tugged at his worn tie, adjusting it nervously, the weight of the decisions he had made settling on him like a thick cloak. His chest tightened as he thought of her, the woman he loved, the woman he had promised to protect. Today was supposed to be a day of joy, but instead, the taste of betrayal lingered like bitter ash. It was at church, under the cracked cross, that he first noticed Tolu. Her voice, soft and pure, sang through the air, every note wrapping around his soul like a lifeline. She held a worn hymn book, the edges frayed from years of use, a symbol of faith and hope that had endured despite the world's hardships. Her voice had ignited something in him. Adebayo was not used to hope, not used to softness in a world of grit and survival. But there it was, in her words, in her gaze. Tolu wasn't just someone he could love, she was someone who could make him believe again. Their relationship blossomed in quiet moments. A shared laugh, a glance across the room, an embrace at the end of a long day. Tolu saw the man he was becoming, but Mama Abike saw the shadows that lingered around him. "Be careful, my child," Mama Abike warned one day, her voice steady with concern. "Gold that shines too brightly can burn your hand." Adebayo dismissed it. He had found something real in Tolu, something worth protecting. But deep down, he wondered, could he protect her from the price he had already paid? That Adebayo's dreams began to take shape. He secured the promotion he had worked for, but when he overheard Oladipo's conversation, the promise of Tolu's body for the price of a deal, his world fell apart. His hands shook as he stood frozen, hearing the deal that had sealed his own moral collapse. The life he had built was nothing more than a transaction, his wife a commodity to be bought and sold. His heart pounded as his world crumbled around him, and he realized, this was the cost of his success. Adebayo withdrew into himself, planning in silence. The betrayal hurt, but it fueled his resolve. No longer would he be the desperate man willing to sacrifice everything. He would take back control, using the very system that had betrayed him. With the help of his lawyer, he began to shift assets, gather evidence, and position himself to challenge Oladipo's empire. His strategy was meticulous, cold, and sharp, a game he was now playing on his terms. The boardroom fell silent as Adebayo revealed the truth. Oladipo's corruption, his exploitation of Tolu, the manipulations that had fueled his rise, all laid bare. The board members sat in stunned silence as Oladipo's empire crumbled. Adebayo had won, not with power, but with truth. Oladipo, once confident and untouchable, was now exposed. In that moment, Adebayo's moral victory was clear. He had reclaimed his dignity, his integrity, and, most importantly, his love. In the wake of Oladipo's downfall, Adebayo and Tolu found their way back to each other. They walked through the streets of Lagos, not as a man who had betrayed, but as a man who had learned to fight for what truly mattered. Together, they faced a new future, one filled with both uncertainty and hope. Hand in hand, Adebayo and Tolu walked towards Mama Abike's home, where their healing began. As the sun set over Lagos, Adebayo knew the road ahead would be difficult. But with Tolu by his side, it was a journey he could face with hope, and the promise of a future built on love, redemption, and a shared belief in something better.